Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
There's a thin blue line fighting back the crime, protecting me and you. We're the barricade of blue. There's a thin blue line watching all the time, running to the fray when others run away. There's a thin blue line.
And it is 7 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone, northwestern Arkansas. And I haven't seen my mates in a couple of weeks, and I'm not going to quite get a belly full of it, but let's crack one open here and start this night up. It is the LCS Guys show. And with us, we have LCS guy Michael Tierney. How you doing, Michael?
Hey, doing great. Glad to be here.
Glad to hear it. And special guest, other Mike Barron. Mr. Barron, how are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey there.
Am I the only one drinking? That's okay.
Yeah.
I usually get Bud Light. They had Bud Light Orange.
I used to drink beer a lot, but last time I bought beer was when Kansas City was in the Super Bowl, the one they won. I still got some of them in the fridge.
You're overdue. I got this Bud Light Orange, and I'm really liking it.
Okay. What brand is that?
It's like a summer shandy.
Coconut water.
Coconut water. Do they get it from coconuts, or do they flavor water with coconut?
I don't know. I do know that they come in indestructible stainless steel canisters that cannot be crushed and probably go to a radioactive landfill when they're used.
Good God. I had one coconut one time in my life, and I don't know why I had it. It was about 20 years ago in the shell. And I was like, well, let's crack this thing open and, get the coconut milk out of it, because that's what they did on Gilligan's Island. You get it. I swear to God, I took a hammer to that thing. I tried to drill into it. Coconut shells are the hardest damn thing to get open. I don't know if I ever got the thing open, but it was like I was beating on it and pounding on it, and I was making no headway. One of those things fall out of a tree and hit you in the head, you're a goner. Hey, yo, Pops, glad to see you out there in the chat, man. Welcome
Hey,
to the show.
Pops.
So, gosh, been a busy 2 weeks in the comics industry.
Not
where
so
do we want
much.
Really? Give us your opinion on the industry, Mike. What do you see
I'm
happening?
talking about the outsiders and comics. Yeah, it's been real busy. But as far as the traditional comic publishers, well, this is a time of the year where not much gets done. They throw a lot of parties. Books fall behind schedule.
And you've been there, so you know what the party atmosphere is like at this time of year.
Yeah.
I've heard, though, I'm encouraged that whatever they're doing with Batman these past 2 weeks looks to be looking up. Now, I don't know. I thought it was really looking up when James Tynion took over, and then I realized that it wasn't really looking up so much as that Tom King had set the bar so low that I was ecstatic with mediocre.
Well,
but apparently it's getting to be a really good Batman story now.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of counter that just a little bit, Tom King's Batman and Catwoman sales have remained strong throughout the run, while the regular Batman series has been dropping in sales for me. And the $9.95 or $9.99 special, Batman Catwoman special, I've got people who don't even get Batman and weren't even on the list before. Say, how would I want that? So that's going to be a $10 book. I'll sell a lot of copies of it. probably my top
Mike, do you have a store?
numbers. No, I'm doing mail order now. I had to close both my stores during the pandemic. Yeah, just help was a problem. All the expenses kept going up. All the sales were going down because people weren't coming in. They were scared. The publishers quit publishing, for a while. I mean, Diamond cut them off, and then when they came back, it was at a much reduced scale, and it just wouldn't have been enough to pay the bills. So I sold my stores and sold my JFK location and just doing mail order on my stores because so many of my customers said, well, I don't want to buy books anywhere else. Like, okay, I'll mail them to you. And I mean, but way more than I thought would stay with me did. And so it's keeping me busy. It's a full-fledged business.
Yeah, because you had those stores for 4 decades, right?
Yeah, 40 years. When you do business with people a long time, take care of them, give them good service, they don't want to make a change. So I actually had one customer start crying in the store when he heard.
Well, I remember when you told us on the LCS Guys show, back when we had a crew that was able to show up more regularly, everyone was like, no, Michael, don't do it, man. Don't give in. But
yeah, it's the right decision. It's like I described on one of your previous shows. This was an extinction event in a lot of ways for a lot of business. I was too big, 2 locations in 2 cities. I live in a third, 5,500 square foot of retail space, and you always had people working unsupervised. And so when all of a sudden it got hard to find people who even wanted to, nobody would even show up for an interview. You couldn't find anybody who wanted to work. They'd apply just so they fill out their unemployment form, but nobody showed up for the interview because they were scared you might hire them. And so couldn't find help. All the expenses, everything was going crazy. All the different things were going on. And I was like, this did not bode well. So it was one of those things I had to kind of like do like the dinosaurs. I had to evolve and go from being a T-Rex that just dominated the local market to being a bird. At least I could survive.
and you just mail order local, right? I mean, you don't even.
Oh no, I've got customers all around the country.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, and one of the real shames that shows how much the content of comics has changed as they've gotten, I don't want to offend anybody, but more liberal, is all my customers. I used to mail all around the world. I had customers in the Philippines, military bases all over from Germany, Italy. I mean, I had one customer. He was a mail order customer probably for 25 years. He was the attaché to a general, and so he flew wherever that guy went. So he was really all over the world. And I had, military guys. I mean, everything from, the people down at the local Air Force Base. I mean, Little Rock Police, Sheriff's Department, police departments all around the area. I used to have so many, people in the, public service, where serve and protect, shopping, and they are all gone. I don't mail anywhere outside the U.S. anymore.
Yeah, that's a good topic to sit on here for a little bit because Mike has a book out right now that's on Indiegogo, Thin Blue Line, which is law enforcement supportive. And look at this, $24,000 for an $8,000 goal. This is very successful. Still got 3 days left. The link is right up there at the top of the chat, folks in the chat who want to click on here and get in at the last minute.
Mike.
But you had told me before about how you had law enforcement people quit buying comics and what prompted them to do so. Can you elaborate?
DC customers, when he quit, he just said, he got tired of being told by DC Comics that he's a child killer. And, that's just kind of the sentiment is just, like Spider-Man used to be with great power comes great responsibility. And then it was like, okay, he became a slacker. Then it's like, okay, well, the whole Mary Jane thing, okay, it's evil to make a deal with it. I mean, wait a minute, it's evil to get divorced, but it's okay to make a deal with the devil for, to dissolve the marriage. And, just so many different things. And then when they brought Gwen Stacy back and had her having babies by the Green Goblin, I mean, it just, so many books just lost the connection with their longtime reader. They didn't recognize the characters anymore. The stories didn't appeal to them, and they were out.
Since we started this campaign, police officers have been reaching out to me from all over the country. Several weeks ago, we hosted a police family from Denver who came up. The officer said the people in his department were so happy that I was doing this. He took up a collection and gave me all these ride-along coins and patches from the whole department, yearbooks.
Oh, wow.
And they got a flag that was signed by every member of the department, over 50 signatures that they gave me, which I will be proud to display at the next opportunity.
That is awesome. That just speaks to that's just one narrow niche of people who want this kind of story.
Yeah,
now,
they want
granted,
to buy
they're
it. They start making it.
yeah.
I want to say this about the book, that it's not didactic or preachy in any way. It's the opposite of what you're disgusted with. It's a dramatic story that will grab you by the throat on the first page. You won't be able to stop reading it. And when you do finish it, you're going to turn to the person next to you and say, you got to read this. Because it's entertaining.
And I'm looking at this.
Entertaining.
Look at this cover that Slemmon's painted here.
Yeah.
And I noticed one of the guys two of the people in the crowd here. This one here is carrying a trash can lid like a shield. And the other one back here, I thought that was a Superman kind of symbol, but I think it's more of a broken heart now. But the trash can symbol, is that in any way a commentary on what they had done with Captain America recently?
No, not at all. Not at all. But that is straight out of the news. Anybody who watched the news during the summer of 2020 saw that scene. And that's the reason I wrote it. And I have to say again that 20 years ago, a book like this wouldn't raise an eyebrow.
No.
But in today's atmosphere, we submitted it to every major publisher. Some of the responses we got were shocking. To wit, fuck you, fuck the police, eat shit, get out of here with your propaganda.
Okay, now, Mike, come on. Those publishers, those were like operating out of their garage, right? With a budget of $20. That wasn't the big guys.
These are well-known publishers. Now, Chris, who submitted the book and published their responses, redacted all their names. He didn't even tell me. So I'm not going to finger anyone in particular. But is anyone surprised? Is anyone surprised? Does anyone think that DC or Marvel would publish such a book? How about Image or Boom?
Not since 911.
No.
They were all over at 911, but that's been forgotten.
Well, yeah, everybody got behind. Sometimes I think they felt like they had to get behind 911. But
it was the last moment of national unity.
Yeah. It's weird to say that it was like a different world not that long ago. But it was a different world. It was a different time.
Yeah. Amazing how things can change in 2 decades.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we're still going downhill and picking up speed, or if we've reached the bottom and maybe we're trying to climb back up again. But
well, I'm optimistic. A lot of people have had their eyes open recently, and as you know, they're talking about a sea change in politics at the midterms next year. If one party is unable to lie, steal, kill, and cheat their way to a victory, and that would mean an overwhelming mandate for a change in leadership.
Yeah, it's I don't even trust the votes anymore. It's like you see one thing, and then you wake up after election night, and it's completely the opposite of everything that was trending that way. And you're like,
and then you learn that 250,000 votes were delivered by truck after midnight.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had a little T-shirt. Oh yeah. I had a little T-shirt that I had put up with a slogan on it that was like, voter, you know what, and it had the little the graph that looked like an F at one point. And the T-shirt store notified me after a month that hey, we've taken this down because it violates our terms of service. And I was like, well, you know what, you can just go ahead and close the whole store, because if you're going to take down a T-shirt that just says voter fraud, doesn't say any political party, doesn't incite anything.
Yeah.
But you're taking it down for that, take down the whole store. So, and they kept.
But anyhow, I don't want to give the impression that this is a political broadside. It's not. It's a story that appealed to me because it's a great story and it needed to be told. And I want to emphasize again that there's not a wasted panel or word in the story. It's all drama. You're going to love it. And of course, in every story I write, and in every story that's worthwhile, there are always flashes of humor. Even the worst tragedy has flashes of humor. Shakespeare understood this.
Highs make the lows lower, and the lows make the highs higher.
Yeah, and because life is that way. You can be in the middle of the worst tragedy in the world. Somebody's going to crack a joke.
Yeah,
and somebody's going to laugh.
Police officers in particular, because they see so much the ugly side of life that they have to crack jokes.
Yeah, you got to stay sane. You got to balance your mind. So tell us, I know you've told me before, Mike, and you have to do it every single time you go on a show. But give us the elevator pitch for the book here.
I get better every time I tell it. It's
Cool.
about two police officers trying to survive the night in a riot-torn city. They're called downtown when the mayor is about to deliver a speech. And the reason he's giving a speech is there's rumor of a police officer shooting. Nobody knows any of the facts. But as soon as that rumor gets out, it spreads like wildfire, and these mobs start to descend on the city with demands, of course, and they're diverse mobs. But before we get there, we get to know Valeria Bach at home with her daughter, Macy. I always start with the domestic scene, so you can see that these are people with families and lives, and not see them strictly as enforcers of the government. And then she and her partner go to guard the mayor. And as soon as they take up position in front of the mayor at a dais in the park, the riot starts. Things start flying through the air, and they have to retreat. And they go through City Hall. But City Hall is broken into. The mob breaks into City Hall. They throw bricks through the windows, and they rush in, try to set it on fire. So the heroes, which is Valeria, her partner Bob Mack, take the mayor out through the basement garage and try to get out of the city. And they have to run a gauntlet of what these mobs are doing. Not all these mobs are political. Some mobs are just interested in looting. And of course, they've put barricades in the streets, burning dumpsters, and they run into various people as they're getting out of the city. They run into bad guys, they run into good guys, and they run into guys you're not so sure about. And that's what the story is about.
How many pages is it?
It's a 56-page story.
Graphic novel.
A Naffic Gravel. It's like
Graphic.
Yeah.
Naffic Gravel.
Naffic Gravel, yes, absolutely.
That's what I call it. Naffic Gravels.
And Mike, since you're here, there is a retailer tier on this campaign. We can get five copies for $85. And it's a $25 book, so yeah, that's a discounted rate. If you sell them back at the $25 retail price, that's profit, I guess. I don't know. I didn't run a shop, so I don't know what the markup usually is on books. And I know that Dave Dyer, who's often here, he likes to include crowdfunded books now in his store. He's got a little boutique section in the back behind the counter where he displays them. So it's coming around to where retailers have stopped looking at the crowdfunding as competition and rather as, hey, here's another source that my customers would come to me for if they don't go online and get it. If they can actually see the book in my store and they're not pledging for it, where it's a little iffy, if they can just buy the completed copy, I can take advantage of that. And creators have realized that as well and come up with these discounted tiers to facilitate that chain.
Oh, yeah. It's a very good book.
It looks like it's going to be a very good book. I can't wait to get my copy because I'm.
Do you want to play that video for the 6 people who haven't seen it?
This video right here. Yes. Let me. I'm going to have to unshare and reshare with the sound on. I had thought I had downloaded that video, but I guess I had gotten rid of it when I was done with it, which I don't normally do. All right, there we go. And let me give us this view and then this view. We'll listen to it.
Beginning with issue number 1, Mike Baron wrote Marvel's The Punisher for over 5 years, approaching it as a straight crime comic, without any superheroes, aliens, or robots. Over the course of 60 issues, Baron elevated the gritty anti-hero into one of the most popular and enduring characters in the Marvel Comics universe. Now he brings that same ultra-realistic intensity to his latest graphic novel, Thin Blue Line. In the middle of a long, hot summer, A police shooting ignites a city. Activists, opportunists, and provocateurs descend to riot, loot, burn, and kill. Thin Blue Line follows Officer Valeria Baca and her partner. Their detail guarding the mayor turns into a battle for survival. Ride along on this harrowing tale of two brave law enforcement officers fighting for their community and their own survival in a world gone mad. Eisner winner Mike Barron has created an alarming tale that unflinchingly examines human fallibility on every level. Along with penciler Joe Arnold, himself a full-time police officer, and talented anchor Jeff Slemons, they've created a moving and entertaining story ripped straight from today's headlines. Thin Blue Line exposes the defund the police movement and its consequences for society. But several comic book companies have refused to publish it. Now we're asking you to join the effort to distribute independently and help support the men and women of law enforcement. Get your copy of the only graphic novel to offer an unflinching, always flattering look at the men and women of law enforcement during a time when we need them the most. Not all heroes wear capes. It's a thin blue line between the rule of law and a world of chaos. Which side are you on? Thin Blue Line by Mike Barron. Order now on Indiegogo.
All right. Yeah, and that's why I don't share videos usually, because they lag on me when I try that. But it did remind me of one of the things I really do love about this, and that is that the artist is also a police officer, and it brings that special connection to the whole story. Mike, how much did you? Did you have?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and that figure book as well. How much did you rely on him for story elements, as far as police procedure in certain environments, or had you already been familiar enough with it that you didn't need it?
Well, Joe just faithfully followed the script. He didn't make any changes. But as I was pointing out, one of the things in all my comics is when we do martial arts, I try to show them in a dynamic and entertaining manner, which often involves breaking the technique up into several panels so that you can see it unfold and make it exciting and fun. And that's always been a hallmark of my comics, from Badger, Punisher, Bruce Lee, Kato, to do that. And the upcoming cue ball. And Joe is an accomplished jiu-jitsu player. So the scenes of jiu-jitsu that you're seeing, and you're looking at one there, are very accurate insofar as how the technique unfolds and body positioning and leverage. Because there's more to fight scenes than punching and kicking. We try to show things like joint locks, headlocks, and takedowns that are not normally shown in fight scenes, because the artist usually is not familiar with them. It's very rare that you work with an artist who's very familiar with martial arts, and I've had the pleasure of working with a number of them, including Vail Myerick, who illustrated the Bruce Lee comic, and Jeff Johnson, who did a story I did for a book for Dark Horse. I'd love to do more with Jeff, but you can see his work in The Way of the Rat, that Chuck Dixon wrote. And you'll see the martial arts in here. This is on the very first page, in fact, and it's Valerie is earning her blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and it becomes integral to the story later on.
All right, very cool there. We've talked before about how you choreograph your fight scenes, and these are not just the artist picking out random. Hey, it would be really cool if they were posed like this in a fight, when it's totally unrealistic and would give you no balance and no force or whatever. So I'm going to say I learned how to fight from reading Mike Barron comics at some point. Now you're also working on another book. You're working on Saints, which is coming from Michael. This is coming from Mitch Breitweiser's company.
Allegiance.
Yeah, and Mitch is Michael's customer.
Well, he used to shop in the stores from time to time. They did a few signings there. Yeah, I know Mitch well. Known him since he was a very young man.
Are you in Arkansas?
I'm sorry?
Are you in Arkansas? I'd like to get down there.
My main store was in Little Rock. My other store was in North Little Rock. I live in a town called Maul Mill, where I serve on the city council. And while everybody's talking about defunding the police, we just gave them a raise just a couple weeks ago in the new city budget.
Good deal. No, they deserve it too.
Oh yeah,
because I've lived around Maumelle before, so I know that they're busy.
Well, we've got one of the more peaceful towns in the state.
Yes,
we don't have the problems, but everybody knows we've got good police support. So,
well, but can you tell us about what's going to be in that book a little bit, Mike?
The Saints is about a secret group of archaeologists who are dedicated to preserving the world's great historical sites that have not yet been discovered and protecting them from looters and ideological destruction. Because you'll all remember 20 years ago when ISIS moved into Afghanistan and blew up a couple of hand-carved stone Hindu temples. It was a great loss to the world, a great loss to culture and archaeology and tradition. And that's what the Saints are dedicated to preserving. But they're opposed by a group called the Children of the Forge, which is a secret cabal of international leaders and schemers who are trying to control the world. And one of the ways they're doing it is by altering the past. They have a machine that will go back in time. They can't put people back through time. They don't do that. The machine itself goes back through time, and then it infects people that it encounters. And those people end up in tombs, and when they're discovered, they rise again and preach the new gospel. It's an international thriller. It's magnificently illustrated by Christian Rosado. I'm very excited about it. I understand the graphic novel is just shipped. I haven't seen it myself. It'll be in Walmart after the first of the new year.
I was just about to ask when it was going to launch, and you're telling me it's done. Oh.
Well, they did a Kickstarter for the graphic novel, and that was successful, and then they fulfilled as fast as they could, which was within schedule and on schedule.
Yeah, and that's going to be very important to them because I know they're still being tainted with all the mess that came with the Red Rooster stuff.
Over Red Rooster.
Yeah, but they fulfill a couple on time and they'll move past that whole stigma that got stuck with them there. But floppies will be in Walmart at the first. Floppy version.
That's where they distribute because they're in Arkansas. It all comes back to Arkansas.
I have seen those. I've seen those stands I've seen them in St. Louis, Missouri. I've seen them in Belleville, Illinois. So he's getting national distribution of those comics through the Walmart distribution chain.
Yeah, and there's Superior Comics too.
Yeah, they couldn't have better time because their launch was the week that Steve Jeppy closed down Diamond Distribution. So when they started coming out, those were the only new comics available around the whole country. So that was
and they're really well written and really well illustrated. Yeah. They don't have an agenda. They don't have a chip on their shoulder. They're pure entertainment.
Yeah, and you know what I've seen happen since he's been successful doing that? There's another little cardboard end cap of comics that shows up at Walmart now in the toy department from Disney. Disney's doing comics, and they're selling them for, I want to say, $2.99 or less. They might have even been 99 cents because when I saw them, they were super cheap. And because they were super cheap, even though they were Disney, I picked up a couple of number ones. I picked up Toy Story and I think it was Frozen. I don't know. It's just comic books, number ones, Disney, give me.
How was it?
What's that?
How was the comic?
Not bad. It was a good story, decently told, pretty simple. The art, I thought the coloring was kind of vibrant but flat because it was two-dimensional cartoon looking stuff.
Right.
Didn't quite have the depth that you'll get from something else.
Yeah. Any Uncle Scrooge or Donald Duck?
Yes, actually, they were doing the classic Mickey and Donald.
Okay.
So it was all reprint stuff, but
I got to show you something. When I was 12 years old, here it is again. I tracked down Carl Barks and asked him for a drawing of Uncle Scrooge, and this is it.
Nice.
That is gorgeous. You still haven't framed it.
No, I should frame it. I did have it framed at one time. I'm going to frame it. Thanks for kicking my ass. I'll get it framed.
Man, that's
Yeah,
just,
he'd probably be
to say that
all-time
you own a
story.
Barks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the
I don't.
all-time killer artists, wasn't
Yeah, and his storytelling.
He was a master. That's where I learned to write comics, from studying Karl Barks.
he? He's got one character that apparently is more popular than any other character on the internet. I was doing some reviews for Comic Buyer's Guide, and I was reviewing this one reprint of a Donald Duck fighting a secret agent from the East, and but I'll tell you what, if you try to look up Madam Triple X, you're going to find out there's millions of pages dedicated to her. So
Yeah, I bet there are.
Yeah, but don't go to them. Don't go to them. There's not going to be any.
Don't go to them. That's
Oh.
Yeah, so you can't look.
Well,
that
Uncle
up.
Scrooge is a
Yeah,
brilliant
that's fair.
creation.
Yeah, he was, and when they did DuckTales, that just reintroduced him to a whole new generation.
I like.
I don't know
that. I didn't care for the second one as much.
Yeah, the second one. Well, there's a thing in animation where there's just this devolving of the style, and you've seen it on Cartoon Network. You're starting to see it on Disney.
Well, it wasn't just that. I just didn't care, how they focused more on the Huey, Dewey, Louie and made them. I don't know which generation it was, millennial or whatever, but used to that they were just like three kids of the same mind. Yeah, they had differences. They'd fight all the time, but here they tried to give them completely all different characteristics. Took away that whole unibrains they used to operate with whenever a crisis was around, which was
Exactly.
kind of neat.
Crisis came up. They relied on the Junior Woodchuck manual, and it had the answer
One
to
would
everything.
start, and the others would finish it. Yeah.
So let me scroll back up to the top here and go over these tiers, because it's a pretty simple, pretty simple tier stuff you got here. Not very complicated at all for what you're going to pick. The featured tier is the $120 one. This is the Officer Assist, and this is pretty cool because you're going to get a copy of the book in physical and PDF. You're going to get a double of the main cover, and you're going to get a certificate and a ride-along coin and an autograph card, because a lot of this money is going to go towards the police assistance organizations. And Mike, are they listed down here?
Yeah,
below?
they're listed. We're giving it to three charities, two established police charities, and the third is to send a cop to Jiu-Jitsu Academy. And the value of that is Jiu-Jitsu teaches you how to subdue somebody without injuring themselves or you. And we have a number of police officers contributing art. Back up just a minute there, would you, RJ? A little more. That's it right there. Adam Miller is a police officer. Not that. That's Sergio Cariello. Go back up.
Okay, you're
That's
seeing a
it,
lag
right
on
there.
my part. Okay, there we go.
And we have a number of police officers who are also artists that are contributing to the book, and that's one of them.
Hey, that's very professional. That looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's a nice detail about these pictures? Those fingers are trigger safety positioned.
That's right. Good finger discipline.
They are along the side of the gun, not curled around the trigger, because you're not ready to shoot that gun until you're ready to shoot that gun. So that's painted by a guy who knows what he's doing with guns.
Yep.
And this is going to be a print that's going to come with the package, or is this going to be?
No,
a page
it's not
in
print.
the
It's going to be in the book in full color in a gallery. We're putting a gallery together at the end. It's all drawn by police officers.
Oh, so all the art will be police officers at the back of it. That's
Well,
Yeah.
he does for the comic industry. He's pretty good, or he or she.
Well, his name is Adam Miller. He doesn't really have time to draw comics full time. It's a miracle Joe was able to pump this out in the time that he did. And it's funny is Joe produced the whole thing faster than many comic book professionals who do nothing but draw comics. That's Sergio Cariello's cover.
Yeah.
And that's Butch Geiss's cover. That's going to be the cover of the book right there.
Has Joe done comics before?
Oh, yeah. He's been drawing for years. I've known Joe since before he was a cop. We used to have a little monthly meeting at my place called the Comics Conclave, and Gabe Eltaib was another regular member.
I've got to get him on the show. He came out with his Superman statements, and he's been on all the big Comicsgate shows. And I'm like, okay, well, he's way too big and way too busy to come on my show. But now I'm seeing him like everywhere. I'm like, oh, he'll talk to people. He should come talk to me.
Oh yeah, Gabe will come on the show. I'll put you in touch with him.
I appreciate it because he doesn't know who I am, but coming through you, maybe he'll stick with him a little bit. Love action scenes. I mean, this is, I didn't scroll down far enough before. This is where they're trying to get the mayor out of the city hall.
Right.
Besieged on all sides. This is going to be action from basically page 1 to page last.
Pretty much. I mean, there's some quiet interludes because a story is a dynamic narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And by dynamic, I mean that the situation, the protagonist is constantly in flux.
Yeah.
Because if it were the same throughout, you'd get bored. And that means even if it were nonstop action from the first page to the last, and it lacked characterization, and it lacked those little quiet moments where you get to learn who a person is, it would not be as entertaining as it is when it has quiet moments. I think of a movie like The Raid 2, and I loved The Raid, but The Raid 2 is so off-the-wall action in every scene, and you never really learn anything about the people. And the fights are magnificently choreographed. It's one of the best martial arts films for choreography that I've ever seen. But story-wise, it's just all a blur. It's like white noise.
You forget what the tale is. You're just watching the action.
Right. There's Joe and Jeff.
And we know this guy.
Keep moving.
I'm moving. So we get to see some of her home life here.
Yeah.
And that's because she's leaving. Who's she leaving the baby with? Her mom or babysitter?
Her sister.
Sister. Okay. And that's because her partner's here to pick her up and go on patrol, and it's going to be a day she's never going to forget.
Yeah, that's the first day. That's where it starts. They just think they're going to go on to a normal detail protecting the mayor, and they don't realize that already these forces have invaded the city and are working themselves up and are just ready to blow up at the drop of a hat, which they do.
Yeah, and
I mean they don't wait for the hat to drop; they drop the hat.
Right, because you mentioned that the story is kicked off. The powder keg is sparked because of the police shooting. It wasn't necessarily in this city. It just happened somewhere, and it was on the news. And
right,
the people were ready to riot for a reason, and
that's
one
right.
was given. Now, do you get into the dynamics of the people who organize these kind of riots? Because
yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. These things are filled with people who are true believers and people who are, let's make some money.
Yeah, you're going to be really surprised when we do that, but we do that. And you're going to be surprised and not surprised. For me, the best ending for a story should come as both a complete surprise and, in retrospect, inevitable.
Yeah, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah, and that's what I think happens here. Those are the best endings to any story. And if you want an example, the original Planet of the Apes, when Charlton Heston comes across the half-buried Statue of Liberty in the sand, you think, oh, it's Earth. Of course it was Earth.
It was always Earth. It had to be Earth. And it's just in the far future. No one has ever done Planet of the Apes.
You think he would recognize, hey, aren't these got the same star patterns as my planet?
Yeah. Well, stars might change over that period.
Yeah, depending on how far in the future he went. But, no one has ever truly adapted the Pierre Boulle novel accurately in any of the Planet of the Apes movies. So it's just been, hey, apes take over. That's our premise. Let's go with that. Not that hasn't been fun.
Script that just never got made into a movie.
That's the elevator pitch. Listen, I got a surefire hit. Apes take over. Yeah, we'll do it. And there's been a lot of Planet of the Apes movies since then. There was The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and those were pretty good movies, the more recent ones. Not the one with Mark Wahlberg that I think was directed by Tim Burton. But since then, there have been a couple Planet of the Apes movies that are really good science fiction.
Yeah, the ones that show how they rose and took over.
Right.
Because Pierre Boulle didn't even show that, because it was just an Earth that the guy went to, and he never was able to get back.
Right.
So, folks, if you want the digital on this, it's dollars. We've already gone over the officer package. $5 for the book. Shipping is probably going to be $10 US. I'll find out.
I just want to show people you're going to love the book. You're going to love the book because of its entertainment value.
Yeah, you got an autograph perk here as well. So you can get a copy of the book, PDF, and then the autograph card. And that's where you and Joe are going to sign the card. Let me give you the big screen.
And Jeff. And Jeff is a superb artist in his own right. I urge you to go to jeffslemons.com and take a look. It'll blow your mind.
I changed the screen, but I'm typing his website address into the chat so people can do just that.
That's good. Let me show you a little Slemons art here.
You gonna share a screen?
Oh, that's way beyond me sharing a screen. All I can do is send you the image on Twitter, RJ.
Oh, I got you.
And hope that you can put it up.
I can do that.
All right. There's his horse. He just did that the other day and showed it. And then I'm going to show you a little of his car art because Jeff is famous for his car art. He calls this the Slemons Camaro. Yeah.
I got the
Jeff
horse.
is a very versatile artist.
And he's doing the inking on this.
Yeah, he did the inking. Yeah, I believe that is Jeff behind the wheel. He painted himself behind the wheel of that Camaro. And
he's running from the police this time.
That's right.
So sometimes you got to just lead him on a chase. That is cool. I love the colors on this. That Mopar, that purple.
Oh, yeah.
And the dog's just expressive, having the time of his life.
Yep.
And that is such a departure from the style that we're seeing on this horse here, which
I know. He's a master. Let me show you his Rat Pack, because I collect pictures of the Rat Pack. I'm a big Frank Sinatra fan. Rat Pack in general. There we go. Slemons Rat Pack. I got all sorts of paintings of the Rat Pack. Some by Steve Rude. You know, most people don't know that dude did the Rat Pack, but what the hell? Let's just show those dude Rat Packs too.
Show them off, man. We'll put it up there. That's some good looking stuff. You know, to be able to do caricatures like that, where you exaggerate it and it's still recognizable as who it is.
Yeah, he's one of the most versatile artists I know. Here's a Steve Rude Rat Pack. Most people haven't seen this. That's Jeff Slemons right there that people are looking at.
And this one I'm bringing over here, this is Rude, Steve Rude.
That's Steve Rude's Rat Pack. You got Marilyn and JFK in the background. There's Frank up front, followed by Dino, Sammy, Joey Bishop. Poor Joey.
Poor Joey. He's getting whacked in the head by somebody.
And I think that Angie Dickinson in the back.
Yeah, they're almost like an Ocean's 11 kind of vibe.
Oh,
going
yeah,
there.
obviously inspired by Ocean's 11, except for Kennedy and Maryland. I don't know what they're doing in there.
Well, was there the time to, I don't know, but that autograph card. So when you say this is an autograph bundle, the book itself won't be autographed because
the logistics are too daunting.
I completely understand that. In fact, we're going to be launching a crowdfunder after the first of the year ourselves because we're putting out a book and we're going to do a special edition of it, which will have an autograph card in it. And Mike Barron's going to have a story in it. This is the Devil You Know Better, and it's going to be an anthology of, just people who encounter the devil, whether they sign a contract, have lunch, pass him on the street, doesn't really matter. Comedy, horror, fantasy, all genres. We're getting a lot of submissions in on this, and it's going to be hard trying to cut the ones out to get it down to 20 because that's what we're going to put in it. But Mike is going to be in there with we're going to send cards to him to sign, and Hart Fisher is going to be in this, and he will also be signing the card. I've already got the card made up. I just got to get them printed to order because we're only going to print as many as there are books funded on the crowdfunder for that special edition. We're doing the book either way, but
I want to add that if you order Thin Blue Line, after you get it, if you want to mail it to me and have me sign it, I'd be happy to do that. I've done that for a lot of my books. People mail me books all the time to get signed.
That's very cool. I'll let them come to you to figure out where your address is.
Right.
we won't broadcast it to the world.
No.
But this has got 3 days left, folks. So
3 days,
is running out. I'm guessing you're going to go into in demand for a while on it.
That would be up to Chris.
He is the one running it, and you've got until May to fulfill. So you might as well go in demand for a while and just pick up some more orders.
Oh yeah, well the book is entirely penciled and inked, and it's being colored and lettered right now. It's going to be ready to go.
That'll be done early
in the first couple of weeks in January. We might fulfill early. I'm not making any promises, but the book is ready to go.
Yeah, I'll email Chris later and said, "Hey, Mike said you'd be done by February." Just to see.
That's unreasonable. I'll stand by that.
Give him a little heart attack.
Yeah.
All right. So as we reach the top of the hour here and try to bring it back to being about the last 2 weeks of comics and things going on in the industry and what's selling and what's not, Michael, what are you moving and what's nobody asking for that's supposed to be hot?
Well, the Kal-El, son of Superman, people just keep shedding the book off their list. And I think I'm down to maybe 2 or 3 people combined. That's it. And the DC overall, they're really kind of getting weak. Whereas Marvel, they've been since they started getting their books out, mainstream characters on a monthly basis, they've just been growing and growing. The initial disaster that was Random Penguin House, they've flipped it around. They're just doing a super job. Very well packed boxes within a box, surrounded by packing. These are just well shipped. The same way kind of lunar some of the DCs. So that problem's been addressed. And like I say, Marvel, they got a lot of the regular commodity titles. Now they still will take a title and put it on hiatus from time to time. But all the titles that they got going, they're mainstream titles. They're not a lot of miniseries. They're still doing a few of those. Whereas DC, it's mostly miniseries and specials, and not a lot of the regular ongoing titles. They just got a few, like Green Lantern and Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and just not a whole lot beyond that. I mean, Detective, and this is the year of filler for DC, and it's really hurt their sales.
When I see DC doing miniseries and almost nothing but miniseries and these short little stories, I get this feeling that they're doing this to kill time because maybe they're like getting ready to reset their long running books again. So let's
reset every retailer's discount level based on what we purchased this year, and so they just didn't give us much to purchase. So that's going to hurt a lot of retailers.
So if you didn't purchase a whole lot because there wasn't anything to purchase, you're going to be paying a higher rate for your books.
Right.
Oh man, that's like government budgeting. You have to spend all the money so you can go back and ask for it for more next year.
And people do that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey Simon, you're coming in on the tail end of things here, but always glad to see you pop in. Need to have you on the show again too with your work. I mean, you're doing some great independent comic
Simon.
work. He kills it with the
You
painting.
know what? I'm going to bow out and cede the rest of my time to Simon.
Simon, you want to pop in?
Thank you, RJ.
He doesn't have a link, but Mike, thanks for popping in. Glad to have you anytime you want it. I will kick people off if I got to. If you have to have time on here. So
Good
It was
luck
my pleasure.
on your books.
Good
I
night,
should say,
boys.
plural.
thanks. Good night, Mike. Yeah. Oh, I love Mike Barron. I never thought that somebody who'd been worked for Marvel and DC would just DMs me up out of the blue and says, "Hey, you got an opening on your show?" I'm like, "You're coming to me?" Okay.
He was doing that Punisher series that they, did a flash on in the commercial. Back when that book was coming out, it was selling 10-1 better than when the later comics that they started doing once it got out from underneath the Comics Code. So a Comics Code friendly, all ages Punisher outsold. Okay, you can do anything you want now by 10-1.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Comics Code Authority didn't. Sometimes you have to have a guideline. Once you have a structure to work within, you can still be creative and tell good stories. When you have no structure and anything goes, anything will. and there's no.
When they tried so many people when they try to do mature comics, it's more immature than anything else. I mean, they just don't know how to do it, and if you got a story to tell, and that's an element of the story, fine. If you're just going to start throwing stuff in, so hey, look how edgy I am. It doesn't work that way. People can tell when stuff's being shoehorned in, and it's just not relevant to the story.
Hey, do you think we can get away with a zombie porking a cow from behind? Remember that?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy some of the stuff that's come out on the market, and just I never saw the audience for it. I think I mentioned on the show earlier, one of the crazy things I ever saw in one of these controversial issues with Batman Damned, where they showed the Batawang, and I never saw it. I was like, I just sold the books. I was like, I don't care to see that. But what's interesting is we used to get deluged with calls, and none of them were from women. They were all from dudes wanting that book. And half of them said it was for their kid.
Of course it was. Sure.
Yeah. Well, that's always the whole thing. You're looking for an investment book. Oh, it's for my son. Now, will you find me a copy because I'm doing it for a kid? It's an old con.
You know what? I bought the first book. I was living in Texas at the time. It's put away. It was an obscure, kind of a lumpish. It's in the shadows, but it was enough that it was there. But I read the story and I was like, yeah, I don't need the second issue. I'm not intrigued. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not in on this one.
It's kind of funny going back to that whole thing. Oh, it's for my son. I had an appearance by a Marvel character program where they have professional actors and actresses come to your store and pretend to be the characters. And I booked She-Hulk. I mean, hey, and it was done by Allison Gordy. She'd been in like 200 movies at the time. Little bit parts. I mean, never a starring role, but she was very good. She's a very good singer. And she just came in and she just did a fantastic job. I couldn't ask more. And it got so funny because so many guys would be intimidated by her. And one guy, was wanting to get her signature on the comic. Goes, he said, it's for my son. He goes, oh, well, what's his name? I'll make it out to him. He goes, well, I'm not married yet, but I do intend to have a son someday. I mean,
planning ahead. Got to plan ahead for these things.
I want to have one. I know.
I'm sure someone will like me. Well, you want to get married?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had one guy come in with a list of all the places of dancing and dining. He wanted to get She-Hulk out on the dance floor.
Okay. Yeah. I bet they hate that kind of thing. But
what's that?
Yeah, I bet they get that a lot though, and they probably expect that who's the guy who's going to come in that thinks that I'm going to go out with him.
Yeah, I mean, me and there was a rep from Marvel, there to help, and we kind of had to be her bodyguards and kind of, I had one guy come in, and this guy was creepy as could be, and all of a sudden he starts handing me a stack of photos. I'm like, what is this? And he's like, well, you want to do a trade? And it was underage girls. Man, I couldn't get him out fast enough. It really made me angry. And so I had to put up with so much nonsense. Later, I did a Catwoman, and it was the last official appearance of the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman costume from Batman 2 by, I think it was Burton also. And so it was actually Michelle's costume. I mean, it actually had her name in it. and the actress they flew in to do it. I mean, she fit it well, and she just really played the role well. And those claws, they look good on the film, but in real life they're just plastic. And but when I had her there, I hired an off-duty cop, and I didn't have any of the problems I had the first time.
Lesson learned. Yeah. No one's going to bring in pictures to trade with you when there's a police officer in the store.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd still think I should maybe done something more, but they got his license plate and reported that guy.
Were these people regular? Were these people who had been customers before, or did they just see the advertisement that was going to be there and
ran
came
a
in?
picture of her in the paper. The guy who wanted to ask her out for go dancing, he drove down from Fayetteville, which is a far northwest corner of the state. So he drove half the length of the state to get to the center of Arkansas, where I'm at. And he just he left, went to a bar, did some drinking, came back, wanted to ask her again, and finally she just said, "Look, I've got some plans with the owner later." And he looked at me, and all of a sudden, like he got scared, like I was going to beat his ass or something like that, and ran out the door, and we didn't see him again. And then I had one guy call up, going, "Oh yeah, I'm with the newspaper. Can you give me your hotel room number so we can interview with her later?" Like, yeah, sure. Give me your number, and I'll call you back at the paper. And yeah, it was legit, So yeah, it's crazy.
Of course.
And of course, we were on the news, and I've got run a clip of it on my website. I've got a little video thing, and it kind of got hers on the lead feature. And so it's so funny. So we do the one show, and they're like, "Okay, you'll be on the air at so-and-so time." Well, we just had barely enough time. Once we stopped her, the time of her performance, we hopped in my truck, rushed to my house so I could slam in a tape in the VCR. So all of a sudden I come screeching up in front of my house. Me and this green woman go running into the house. And about a half hour later, here we just come walking out casually. My neighbors never asked a question. And I'm like, yeah, just let their imaginations go.
Michael just brought a green woman to his house. They've been in there for an hour.
And you should have seen her there. Wow. But I remember when I had the Catwoman down here, I put her up in a good hotel. And it was one of the better hotels in the area. And well, just that weekend, it just so happened they were having this kind of like a hoop fest, kind of a amateur contest. It was right on the street out in front of them. And so all these semi-pros and actually pro basketball players came, and they were all staying at the hotel. So the next day when I picked her up to do the second day, and I was explaining that to her, she goes, "That explains it." She said every time she get in a hotel, elevator, all she saw were belt buckles. She thought, "Man, Arkansas is the land of the giants."
Oh, yeah.
They did a great job. The character appearances. I don't know they do those anymore. I've never seen one listed in a long time. But, if a store owner's out there wants to do something to really get people interested, that will do it. Now, I will say, though, the She-Hulk was a lot more effective because I ran a picture of Allison Gordy as She-Hulk. With the Catwoman, I ran a lot of problems with, Warner Brothers because they were like, well, after I'd signed the contract, I'd say, okay, here's my ad campaign. I need approval on this. 6 months go by. I've wanted to be promoting this really early, and they're still not approving anything. I'm like, guys, what's the holdup? And they said, well, we've decided we don't want the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman to do any more appearances. Like, have you ever heard the word breach of contract? And because I had a contract, I had it for a long time. So like, okay, well, you can have her, but you have to advertise the animated Catwoman. You can't show her picture. And none of the ads.
Oh, because the animated Catwoman
as Allison Gordy. So,
but the animated Catwoman still didn't have the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman suit.
Exactly, it didn't look nothing like. It was a bait and switch, and yeah, I was pretty disappointed in my dealings with the Warner Brothers on the ad campaign. They just wrecked my whole ad campaign. So, like I said, the She-Hulk campaign went fantastic. The Catwoman, Warner Brothers just wrecked it.
And the She-Hulk appearance, you said that the video is on your website, which is www.thewildstars.com, which I just threw out in the chat. So if people want to head over there, scroll down, you can find She-Hulk's appearance at the comic book store and collector's edition.
Commercials. I ran a lot of co-op commercials. So you can see, if you ever had a store that ran those little commercials, you can kind of see them again there. Because I had one person post recently on my YouTube page. Goes, "Oh man, thank you for putting up. I've been looking for that thing for 20 years, wanting to see it again."
Oh yeah, you get attached to old commercials that you don't see, and you don't see comic book stores advertising much. We got Dave's that we run here at the beginning of the show a lot because he had that at the drive-in back when people were. It was sort of like the only place you could go see a movie during the pandemic was the drive-in. So why not take advantage of that? and it worked for him. I think
yeah,
more
television
comic book stores are going to
is
start
the
doing it.
best. Yeah, I tried it all. I tried newspaper advertising, yellow pages advertising. Of course, now in the days of computer, if you're advertising yellow pages, you're just whizzing your money away. I mean, it's a waste. I used to, though, if you weren't in yellow pages, you weren't in business before the internet. So that's completely flip-flop there. Radio advertising, every radio salesman will tell you, oh, you got to run it over and over again. It gets more effective as it runs. And exactly the opposite, because people hear it, oh, what's this new commercial? Then after that, they just start tuning it out. So don't waste a lot of money there. Print is a waste. I mean, I was running advertisements for new comics in with the movie ads, like, hey, this new movie's coming out. Hey, here's this new comic coming out. And that did nothing. I remember one time I was running so many television advertisements with the Fox channel. They said, hey, we've got this magazine. We're sending it out to 20,000 homes, or maybe 200,000. It was an incredible number. I remember now it was 50,000 houses in the area immediately around my store. And they said, we're just, because you run so many ads, we're just going to give you a free place to run an advertisement. So I ran a coupon. You know how many coupons I got redeemed out of a 50,000 mailing?
0?
1.
1.
Yeah, so that shows you how effective print is. Television, what's great about television is you can say, okay, you don't have to advertise on all the shows. Every now and then I have somebody say, well, you must not be doing much advertising because I never see your ads. I said, well, do you want to buy comics? They say, no. Well, why would I advertise to you? So I was on the programming that people liked. And way back in the 80s and early 90s, I used to have a big dish satellite, which meant I could watch local television programming several days before it aired. And because I was watching the live feeds that they'd broadcast and they'd record locally and then plug in all the commercials. So I got them commercial free. And it was great watching sports that way. But so I remember there was a Deep Space Nine one where they did a replay of the Troubles with Tribbles and ran Deep Space Nine into the story. And they were actually used a lot of footage. One of the biggest
I remember
shows.
that was great.
Yeah, and so that week I just called up my ad rep and said, oh, yeah, I want to put a couple extra ads in this week. And they're like, really? Why? Oh, no, I just got a feeling. And so that way I don't have to pay any extra. But see, another way that you buy television advertising is you contract for like a whole year or a whole program. That way, if the rates go up, you got a hit. Like I was advertising on the first year or two of Supergirl, then the rates went sky high. Well, I got off of that. And I did a lot of programs that way where I would advertise them. Then they become a mega hit. Well, then I wouldn't advertise anymore. I was advertising on Star Trek almost all the way throughout from the very beginning on both Next Generation and Voyager. And I did a little bit on Deep Space Nine too. But what I started doing at that point is I do what they call, basically if they have to do filler, I'll put it. You can run an ad for this rate, and it's not much at all, like $25, $40, something like that. And but they're the rate card is like $400. It's like, yeah, well, if you ever get to the point where you don't have any filler, you're going to have to run a public service announcement, run my ad. And so sometimes I'd be on, sometimes I wouldn't. But when I was on, I was getting a heck of a deal. So that's how but you got to develop a relationship with them first, do some buying a lot of advertising. And then once they get to know you, then you can start, swinging sweetheart deals like that. And it's so effective. Although I will say the initial Star Trek, when they were running it, I think it was on Fox or somewhere. And but whoever was running, it was Channel 11. So that was one of the bigger affiliates. But so probably CBS or something. But they would they had football at that time. And they were running the show on the same day as the football. And it was scheduled to start at 6. Game run late. They just cut out that whole part of the show. They wouldn't delay it. They just skip it. Well, everybody started calling me because I was the only person who they knew how to contact on a Sunday. And so I was like, guys, you either got to move that show or I can pull my ads because I'm getting tired of everybody griping at me about how you do the programming on it.
Yeah, you can't go to a show already in progress when it's syndicated like that. That's
Star Trek. People wanted Star Trek back on TV so bad. They were ravenous for it. And they were just like, what? No, it's the Heidi football game again, if anybody gets that reference. You do, okay.
The Heidi football game in reverse.
Yeah.
So what was the most effective ad you ran?
Well, some of the ads I worked up. I bought my own computer. I used to write my own scripts. And you tell them exactly what you want. They're like, okay, you're buying all these things. We're going to give you a free ad. And I'd write the script. I'd do all my announcing because that way people come into the store like, hey, I recognize that voice. I mean, why pay somebody else? I can talk. And they always used to call me one take because I'd come in, do it on one take, whether it's a radio commercial or television, and be done. So that would be kind of leery. He's going to do his own announcing. Oh, that was easy. And so they're always happy. But I'd write my own script. But when you're having those guys do it, I was like, okay, like I had a Batman costume, and my instruction was I just want the sweep of the Batman cape across the screen as I transition from one scene to another. And so one of the guys puts on the Batman costume, holds up the poles on the ends, and he just kind of goes walking past a couple of times in front of the screen. Like, it just looked like some high school kid got a hold of a costume and was sneaking around and just, I was like, I made him completely redo that. Here's what I want. I want that sweep of the cape. And I got it, but they'd always botch it. So I bought my own computer, bought my own camera, and for the price of what somebody would normally charge you to make a commercial, I made my own commercial, and that was really effective. It was I ran that for years.
Now, did you advertise for the death of Superman, or did you just allow CNN to take care of that?
That one, we didn't really know it was going to do what it did, so I didn't do any special advertising for it. I remember for the death of Spider-Man, though, I bought this giant block of 50 advertisements for San Diego Comic Con, which is that same weekend. And once the book comes out, I worked overnight, filmed and cut a whole new commercial, loaded it up on their station to start running the next day. Well, then the ad rep who sold me the ads ran all but 3 advertisements out of 50 on the wrong channel.
Oh,
it's a huge waste of time. I stopped making special commercials after that, and I got credit though. They gave me monetary credit to run my ads again in the right place. And I told them where I really wanted it. Yeah.
All right.
So
Well,
you have the best laid plans, but people will mess it up for you.
I cannot say that I've ever really seen. Maybe I've seen maybe 1 or 2 ads for comic stores, and I've seen them once because it's not like they kept repeating. And I probably saw them on like a comic book movie late at night when nobody's watching, so the ads are like really cheap.
Like $2. Yeah, you can get them really cheap.
Yeah, you can get them for nothing. Anyway, maybe we need to start seeing more of that because stores got to start coming back around.
Well, see how I did it. I got my ads up on the on my channel.
All right,
YouTube channel, which you can access through my website.
All right. Well, thewildstars.com. Go see the She-Hulk video and what it's like to see a comic book store do television advertising. Maybe next time we do that next year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I might just download some of those TV commercials and we'll just kind of play them through the StreamYard here.
And it's really funny. The lead-in of the previous news article is they're talking about cow chip flinging contest going on in Toadsuck, which is not far from here. It's a real city.
Nope, I've been there.
They have the Toadsuck Festival, and cow chip tossing contest is one of them. But it was raining that year, so they're talking about that. So they transition from cow chips to She-Hulk at the comic book store, and so you can tell that the female reporter, she's trying to do a great job, but she gets kind of flustered at one point, and she goes, and she was in town to show off her, and of course about that time the cameraman did a butt shot of her special powers or something like some of that effect. I forget the detail, but it's just,
oh my god! At least she didn't say assets.
Yeah, something like So then of course we're racing my house to so I make a recording of it, so I put it up on the web there. So but yeah, it's a pretty funny video. I mean, but Elsie Gordon, she just did a great job. I can't say enough good things about her.
I'm going to go check it out now, and everybody else in the chat, you should too. Because we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Michael, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with the LCS guy.
Fun as always.
We got to get guys. I've got some people lined up. They're kind of taking it easy here at the end of the year. But if you remember Larry, who was with us several months back, been approaching him. He's interested. He's just kind of, he said, I'm on hiatus till, a certain point here, but definitely keep touching base with me because I'd like to come back. So we'll see if we can't get him back in here and actually get a couple of retailers' opinions on some things.
Local comic book shop guy goes back to being guys, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Larry's wanting me to put money down on a bet. I keep thinking, I keep hearing they're going to kill Superman. He's like, no, they won't. And then that last Superman issue come out with a big old kryptonite spear through his back and coming out his front. I'm like, should I put money down? He's like, I'm ready to take it because he'll be alive next issue. So we'll see where that's going. At any rate, what's that?
Remember that old Monty Python joke about, she turned me into a newt? He's standing there as a regular guy. Goes, well, I got better. That's what Superman's going to do. I got better.
He'll get better. He got better last time. Folks in the chat, thank you for being here so much. We don't have a show without you. Definitely appreciate you showing up. And as always,